Hello, good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 2 of the Sponsorship Surgery is here on the Camber YouTube channel. My name is David Christie and it is my absolute goddamn pleasure to have you along for yet another week of this. I enjoyed it so much last week that I thought I'm going to go and do it all over again. And I've actually put in some work for some content for this week as well. So we've got a lot to get through tonight. But of course, the overarching theme of episode 2 is about bringing value to brands. That's what we're going to be covering tonight. So if you're in chat, say hello, drop any questions that you've got. You can also pop over to Instagram and drop any questions that you've got on the lead up to our events on Tuesday nights, 8 o'clock. We're going to try and do this every single week without fail. I'm probably going to regret saying that because I'm going to be away next week, but we'll still try and do an episode nonetheless. But as I said, we've got lots to talk about tonight. We're going to be covering quite a few questions. We're going to be talking about what you can provide, even if you are at, say, club level. What do brands want beyond exposure? That's going to be a juicy one. And also, this is going to be a golden one. The power of being a connector. Massive, massive value in that one. We're going to cover that towards the tail end of the show. We're going to run for about 45 minutes tonight. Learn my lesson after last week, thinking we'll try and go for an hour. We'll start off at 45 minutes, and then if we get loads of content in, we can try and squeeze it out to an hour as well. But on top of that, we've also got an exclusive couple of clips from an interview I did very, very recently with a very well-known figure up here in Scotland and Scottish Motorsport, Stephen Turner, formerly of Turner Motorsport, one of the biggest motorsport retailers up here in Scotland, and it has some fascinating insights. If ever you wanted to know what a local business, what a national business wanted from you as a racing driver, then that is going to be absolutely right up your street. So don't go anywhere through the course of the evening. But firstly, let's celebrate what's been a fantastic week in club racing. Was having a look through the results. My goodness me, there are some packed grids out there through the course of the weekend. I was just looking, actually, I'll bring them up just now. The Monoposto Championship that was racing this weekend as well. 44 cars taken to qualifying. That was mighty impressive. Then you also had the British Supercarts that were out there as well. 46 cars that they had taken part in the first race. So big grids out there. Obviously, some championships that are not able to get those big numbers. It's the peaks and the troughs of the club and the national scene. But it is a good time to get involved. So for many of you, you've already done your first race of your season. Congratulations. If it was a disaster, doesn't matter. Just dust yourself down, get back onto the horse, get back onto it for the next round. For myself, I am away on a whistle-stop tour next week. I've got a team building day that I'll be heading down to Simstaff. Big shout out to Josh Martin and the team at Simstaff for all the wonderful work they throw my way. But we're away for a team building day next week, which should be quite cool. And then I'm basically staying down in England for the whole of the week because I'm planning a whistle-stop tour of BTCC at Donington Park. I'll try and be there on the Saturday, and then on the Sunday, I'm going to try and be there for British GT. And then on both nights, I've got to run back to the hotel and do some esports commentary as well. So a busy, busy weekend and a busy week ahead for me. But what about yourselves? What are you lot out there going to be up to in the coming week? So the whole point of sponsorship surgery is it's going to be a little weekly get together for us to sit around the campfire and, I was away to say chat the proverbial, but yeah, we can banter with each other. But mainly, it's a place where we can kind of give each other a little bit of help, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of a safe space where we can figure stuff out together, whether that's sponsorship, whether that's motorsport direction, whether that's career advice, whatever. Let's see if we can kind of get through it all together. So who am I? My name is David Christie. I am a former full-time commentator at Knockhill. Still make the occasional ghost-like appearance up there. I'm a professional esports commentator as well, and I am a on hiatus at the moment racing driver, but I'm hoping to get back, behind the wheel sometime soon. Took part in the 2021 BRSCC City Car Cup and also took part in the 2019 Citroen C1 24 Hours of Silverstone with Flying Haggis Racing. So I've been behind the wheel. Granted, it's not very, very powerful machinery, but it's been fun nonetheless. I'm also a huge, huge sim racing fan, and I am a massive geek when it comes to personal development and brand ambassadorship as well. I will be literally your biggest cheerleader cheering you on. That's enough about me though. What can we expect from tonight? Well, let's just get started with the first question, shall we? Because we've got a lot to get through. So the first question, and again, if you do have questions, pop them down in the YouTube chat, pop them in Instagram. I'll do my best to get them added into the show as well. But this is another common question that I hear quite a lot. I race at club level. What can I realistically offer to a sponsor? Now, that's not the way I get asked that question. That's not the tone that I get that said to me. The tone is usually, oh, well, I'm just racing at a club level. I'm just racing, with my local club, or I'm just doing kart racing. Why would a sponsor be interested in me? And so many different parts to that. One is mindset. The first part is, realizing what you're worth as a racing driver of any ability whatsoever, because we've got this mistake right now that we're still in the 70s, 80s and 90s, and that brands are interested in working with winning racing drivers. That might be a case to a certain extent, but there is a lot of value. There's a lot of untapped potential with businesses working with drivers, full stop. And there's a lot of way that you can bring value and do things for brands regardless of whether you're actually being sponsored by them or not, and regardless of the level that you're working at. It's one of those things that it doesn't actually make all that much difference. But if you can nail this now while you're at that grassroots level, while you're at that club level, then you get yourself in a system that you can easily adapt as you get bigger, as you progress, and as you move on as well. So to explain about this, I also have to explain about the landscape with social media. Now, I did touch a slightly on this last week, and there was a little bit of a clip that went out, but the social media landscape has massively changed over the past 20 years. Think where we were in 2005, 2006. I swear to God, I know that there are some of you that can't even remember that because you weren't even born, and that kills me. Okay, that kills a little part of my soul to realize that I'm so old that I remember things that you lot weren't even around to see. But the landscape is completely different with the internet. You had things like MySpace and Bebo were the big social networks. It was more about messaging apps. That was where it was. You didn't really have influencers. You didn't really have social media personalities. And then the 2010s came along, and everybody wanted to be an influencer, and it was all about that reach and that clout and getting hundreds of thousands of followers, and businesses throwing, heaps and heaps of cash and not actually getting anything in return. And then suddenly they realized, well, actually, hang on a minute. They say they've got 250,000 followers, but they don't actually have anybody responding to them. Are they actually real people on that? So they then start drilling down into what are called micro influencers or niche influencers, local influencers. And that's where you're dealing with much smaller numbers, but again, you're dealing with much higher people that are being engaged with. You're kind of seen as an expert or a thought leader within your own little circle. As we say, a very good evening to Gail, who is literally just sitting across the room from me. Tom from MySpace, everyone's friend, absolutely. I tried to delete him many times, it just didn't work. But the whole point of it is that the brands now are much more aware. They're much more savvy about the landscape that is around there. So all you have to worry about is being seen by the people that you are connected with to be of some value to them. And they comment and engage with the stuff that you put out there. That's where the value from that part of it comes in terms of social media. But let's also remember there's a whole wide world outside of social media. You might have various talents, various skills that you can offer to a business or a brand that might be nothing to do with motorsport. You might be amazing at doing website SEO or being able to clean windows or whatever. There are lots of things and services that you can provide in exchange for that, and that provides them value as well. The other thing that you can do is just generally be their cheerleader. Again, we spoke about this last week. We spoke about the fact of a lot of drivers think, well, I've got to get a big sponsor before I'm actually going to put in the work, before I'm actually going to do this storytelling, before I'm going to promote businesses, or before I'm going to... I don't get it. I'm always a big believer. So a big part of me is doing mindset training and thought development. And I'm a huge fan of acting as if. So the thing I would say to you is, if you're at a club level, act as if you were at a national level, an international level. What would you do differently if you were at a national level for your sponsors or for brands that were interested in working with you or you were interested in working with? What would you do differently if you were at an international level with those brands and businesses? Why can't you scale that down for where you are at a club level? The key thing here, the key thing to remember is that grassroots doesn't mean it's worthless. It means that it's genuine, it means it's real, and it means that it's authentic. Likely far more than you would do than some of the drivers that you see at a national or an international level. On that note, again, I've got to give a big shout out for everybody that's out there on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, currently smashing it with the content that they're putting out. Thank you. Well done. Keep flying that flag. I'm loving seeing the storytelling that goes on and people kind of heeding that. And the whole point of tonight is I really, really do want to put a nail into the coffin of selling exposure, selling spaces on your car like it's at some sort of buffet menu that it's going to be seen on. So that's the whole point at tonight. But again, at club level, you can give more time to the brands and businesses that you're wanting to work with. So again, going back a couple of years when I started up Camber Media, and I was just desperate for work. I wanted to focus on the motorsport stuff, but going self-employed is super scary. And I was just taking, social media work and whatever work I could get from any business that I could. And one of them was actually one of my motorsport friends had asked if I could help out with social media at his cafe in Ayrshire. And I accepted it. And again, I found it really, really easy with that because, they weren't a a big chain restaurant. They were just a restaurant, a little cafe, on a beachside town, and it was still very, very easy and very straightforward to help tell their story. And that's a way that you can bring value to brands as well. You can use your audience that you've got to help tell their story. Because as, again, we went on at length last time, brands and businesses aren't always looking for sales. They're quite often looking for your audience, and they're looking to tap into that. But the thing is, as well, is it comes down to speaking to them. It comes down to having a conversation with them. And you'd be amazed at how few drivers, like we're talking about maybe 5-10% of drivers will actually open up a conversation with brands and businesses outside of a sponsorship pitch. I find that crazy. I find that absolutely bonkers. The fact that drivers aren't willing to have a line of communication, having a chat with brands and businesses, that just because they can't offer value right now, just because the brand or the business isn't interested in sponsoring them right now, they'll cut ties. They'll just be like, right, okay, fine, see you later, and guaranteed never heard of from again. It's it's a missed opportunity. It's one we're going to come back to later when we speak about the value of being a connector, and we'll talk a little bit about networking. But again, it's just one of those things that I find absolutely crazy. The fact that drivers don't really put any effort into thinking about what they can actually do for a business, mostly because they never speak to businesses. And another benefit of speaking to a business, even if they're not going to be your sponsor, is that it keeps your toe in. It gives you an understanding. It gives you a finger on the pulse of your local business community. And you've got no idea how valuable that is. Being able to understand the lay of the land up here in Aberdeen might be completely different to down south, to down in Oxford, or to over in Wales, or to Northern Ireland, to over in Spain or France or wherever. It's going to be different. There's going to be subtle differences in there. And if you can become someone that knows the ins and outs of that, that's what you can do at a local club level. But again, one of the things that I spoke about there earlier was the fact that we had a chat with Stephen Turner from Turner Motorsport. And we'll use this to kind of segue into the next question, because one of the first things that I asked him was about drivers and what they would normally do to approach him. And as a business, how they would try and build up relationships with him. And I think you might find some of the answers quite surprising. Obviously, the theme tonight is we're speaking about sponsorship, and we've kind of had many discussions over this, and you were a seminal part in me developing my motorsport career as well. Helping me build the 107 for the BRSEC City Car Cup just a couple of years ago, back in 2021. You and your dad took me kind of under your wing and given me the use of the workshop and everything. But the stories that we had, how busy were you in terms of drivers coming to you and looking for help and looking for assistance?
Literally every person who came through the door were always asking for that. In terms of a discount, pretty much it was almost the first word out of their mouths when we offered them a price on anything. So we never knowingly made any money. I laugh because it was always cut to the bone in terms of what we could do. And we always wanted to help, particularly the kids that were coming through into karting, because we knew that motorsport needed that pipeline of enthusiastic kids and their parents bringing them on and bringing them up into the higher echelons of sport. So we're always keen to support kids wherever we could. There was one or two drivers that we you know, if you spotted real good talent and commitment. And commitment is probably the biggest thing, because it's very easy to get disheartened and you give up on it because of the amount of time and effort it requires. So if we spotted talent and commitment, those were the two drivers for us to put a bit more into it. And one of the things we also did was we had a mobile shop that we used to take around various venues such as kart tracks, rally venues and race venues. And that allowed us to engage directly with anyone who's obviously competing in whatever form of motorsport it was, and build relationships. And the relationship building was the key thing for us in terms of how much support we would give to someone. And as I said, that commitment, that drive to be successful was always a thing. If we saw that in someone, then we would put as much as we could behind them. To the extent where, you know, it cost us in some cases thousands of pounds to support people, but as long as they were committed to it and giving something back to us, such as the promotional aspect, it wasn't just a sticker on a car; it was also, you know, giving us a kind of pipeline of sales as well. So they would be ambassadors for us, and that was quite rare to find. Like I said, there's only like 2 or 3 people I think we ever engaged with in the way that we wanted to. Most of them were always just, if you give us 5% off, we'll put a sticker on my car for you. Which, you know, you always kind of rolled your eyes a little bit at, but that was the typical approach. And then you wouldn't care nothing else from them. They would get what they wanted, and then that would be it. You know, the sticker would go in the car, and then there would never be anything on social media. You know, you would never hear from them again. They would never call you or email you to say, we've done this weekend, or here's what we've achieved, or here's what I'm working towards. We never got any of that for these guys who were kind of just after a 5 or 10% discount.
So, firstly, there was about an hour's worth of footage that I had to cut out because we were just swearing. we were absolutely tearing into to how things were. We've always had a good whinge whenever me and Steve have got together, and some of the things that he was explaining were absolutely shocking. Like from a business point of view, and having seen them myself, I've spent, you know, many hours at the shop while working on my car building the little 107 up. It's it is quite eye-opening, but again, it gives you an idea. It's more than just a logo on the car. It's more than just a sticker on the car. They want that relationship, and businesses and brands are willing to get involved at a much earlier, a much lower level than you think they are. So again, it's more about having the conversation. It's more about starting that line of communication up and seeing where you can build things up to from there. So again, it's more of that to come. We've got another couple of clips through the course of that, but again, it's time to move on because it's advert time. And look at this, episode 10. We're already running adverts. I'm okay with that. If you are a driver who is struggling to figure out what you're worth, to get your feet in the door, and to basically make your mark with brands, I've got you covered. That's why I made the Modern Driver's Playbook for Sponsorship. This is an online learning course that covers tons and tons and tons of content. 6 modules. There's about 6.5 hours worth of videos, tons of downloadable tools, worksheets that you've got to go through. There's stuff that you can use. But the whole idea is that it teaches you the skills so that you make your own stuff. The whole point of this is that everything you're going to be doing is tailored towards the businesses. So you build your personal brand, create sponsor-winning decks, pitch like a pro, deliver true value to sponsors, grow your audience online, and future-proof your racing career. Because for many of you, You're just looking for the next opportunity where it comes. So if you do fancy that, check the link in the description. Head over to the Camber website, cambermedia.co.uk/the playbook, and you can apply to get on board with it. And apply is the word, because while it is open to everyone, it is not for everyone. So when you hit that apply button, you'll come through to me, we'll get a coffee together, and we'll make sure that the course is right for you before sending it off to you. So there you go. Get in touch and we can sort that out as well. So now that we've done the shilling, see what I did there? I said that with such genuineness as well. I believed in what I was saying. It's, it's got to be done. Right, let's move on, because it's time for the next section. And the next question really is, I think it's going to be quite an interesting one as well, because I hear this a lot of times, and like the last one, I hear it in lots of different guises. What are brands actually looking for outside of exposure? I hate that word. I hate it so much. I don't know why I hate it, but I just do. There's lots of things. They want a genuine connection with you as a racing driver and you as a brand, but they also want content. They want credibility. They want community, and they want conversions. They want all of that good stuff, and that all falls outside exposure, because the word exposure has been pretty much corrupted. It's been poisoned by the motorsport community to be equivalent to a logo on a car. I'll put your brand on the car. We'll give your brand some exposure. Well, that's lovely. Thank you. I'm sure that my landlord will be happy to receive his monthly payment of exposure. I'm sure that exposure is going to pay for my next race entry fee. I'm sure that exposure is going to help them pay for their business overheads as well. So it needs to be more than that. And that's not saying that you can't provide it and that you shouldn't provide it. That's saying that it is not the be-all and end-all. It's... If I can speak quite freely, and again, like I said last week, I apologise in advance to who I'm about to trigger with this, but some of you out there are really, really arrogant with this. Some of you are really, really taking the mick in terms of how little effort you put into this. It's almost like this God-given right that you've got to be on the grid, and these brands should feel so lucky to be involved with you that you'll even consider them. They should just take the logo on the car and just shut up and go and sit in the corner after giving you 15 grand. That's not how it works. It's likely never been how it's worked, but it's certainly not how it works anymore. And drivers that aren't like that are very quickly finding out, because they're the ones that turn up to the race events with a blank car and say, "Oh, sponsorship, it's too hard. I've done, I've sent out so many emails." No, you haven't. You haven't built any relationships up. You haven't even made any effort to build any relationships up. You've sent out 15 generic emails. You haven't even changed the brochure that you've sent with it. So, yeah, anyway. Did you see how quickly I got tilted there and I got salty? So, yeah, sorry. Right. But outside of that then, let's break each one of them down as well. And this, again, ties back into what we were saying there in terms of ways that you can provide value. Content. So you can provide content that both fits your audience, but you can produce content for them as well. The amount of times that I see drivers being sponsored, and they'll announce it, "Oh, I'm being sponsored by, let's say, XYZ Brakes, or some other consumable to do with the car," right? And they'll announce it, and that's it. What a missed opportunity. I saw a brilliant one. For the life of me, cannot remember who it was. And I commented and I said, this is exactly how you do it. It was EBC Brakes, and it was somebody on Instagram who was basically had a photo of the brake kit and all the extras and some of the EBC stickers and stuff. And they were saying, how reliable it was, and you know, it was just such a great product. And they were a club racer, and I'm like, yes, this is exactly how you do it. This is exactly, because you're putting it over in a way that's absolutely genuine. You're singing their praises in a very genuine way. So, you know, that's one thing that you can do in terms of the content, but you can also provide credibility. So you, as a racing driver, you know what you're talking about when it comes to car parts or using services. Your credibility can be used to enhance whatever it is they're selling, or it can be used to enhance their image as well. So when we were talking last week about how brands quite often want more about you than just getting your logo. It's not about sales. They want to be associated with you. They want to be linked with you to get your credibility to rub off onto them. But that also feeds back into how important it is to choose the right sponsor, because that works both ways as well. So if you choose someone that doesn't align with your own personal beliefs, then the credibility is immediately gone, not just for you as a racing driver, but for them as well. And then also you've got community. We spoke about this previously as well. You're building up your community. Doesn't matter whether you've got 5 followers, 10 followers, or 15,000 followers. You're building your community. You're constantly building on that. A bunch of people who know you, who like you, who trust you, your audience, your 1,000 true fans, as we mentioned, they are going to be a selling point as well. That's what brands are often looking for as well. They're looking to have access to that audience. And then we've got conversions as well. Now, again, I'm going to come on to a clip that I've got from Steve talking about exactly that. And we're talking about getting exposure, getting a logo versus getting the word of mouth, the referral, saying, you know, to people that you meet in the paddock, other drivers as well. Yeah, I use this product. Oh, it's amazing. Or yeah, I use this supplier, has never let me down. And that speaks absolute volumes. And again, one of the things that we were talking about with Steve was the fact that he would go, as a supplier of these products, he would go above and beyond. He would drive out to kart circuits that were about 150 miles away on a Friday night, just as an emergency, to get like kit to youngsters that were driving that weekend, quite often putting himself out of pocket, but doing that because he wanted that reputation. He wanted that image of somebody who really pushed that extra mile. And that's where you can come in. You can help push that narrative. You can help tell that story of somebody who's really, you know, pushing everything that you would normally expect by, you know, saying that, telling other people about it, saying it on your Instagram, saying it on your Facebook, saying it on your TikTok or whatever, and singing their praises. So you can give them that in terms of the credibility, but also the conversions as well, because that's then going to lead to more people coming and potentially having a chat with them. But as I said, let's go and check out the next clip then, as this was where we really spoke about the difference of a logo versus getting these referrals. You know, just going back to Rory Butcher, and a couple of things that you mentioned there actually, was that he was constantly trying to promote your brand and business, and it got me thinking of one of the first things that you mentioned as well about drivers offering a sticker on your car. And in your experience in business, which had more of an impact for you? Was it the logo on the car, or was it people being able to talk to you, talk about your business and recommend it?
It was people being able to talk about it. The logo was great for the photo opportunity in the social media outlets and stuff. You know, you'd always try and kind of get that, but that was never the thing. Certainly, from the feedback we got, was never the thing that drove people to the business. It was always people who recommended us, and those were the kind of people who stayed loyal. Once they discovered us, once they understood what we were offering, and I guess the value proposition, as they call it, that we give to them, then those people kind of stayed loyal with us. we to the extent where we grew the business out of racewear and safety parts for cars to actually building cars for people as well. So the business was really just before COVID starting to gain some ground and take off, and then, as I said, COVID came along and kind of put a stop to it all almost immediately. So, and it was a shame that happened. And there was challenging times. Don't get me wrong. There's some challenging times where people who thought they might have the budget to go racing and didn't quite have it, and caused us some issues. But everyone goes through that, and I guess that's a tip for some of your followers, is to make sure you've got it budgeted for the season. And if you break that down to show where you contribute and where other people can contribute, then it shows you're being serious about it, and you're not just taking advantage of people, because you've put the effort in and you've taken the time to put the effort in. You've thought it through. You've understood the challenges. You've understood the commitment that's required, and you are respecting the people who you're asking money from, because you can define for them how their money is going to help you, and you can tell them what you're going to give them back.
So some fascinating insight there from Stephen in terms of the difference between getting a logo on the car and people actually being a natural referrer and a natural advocate of a brand. And it literally saying there from, straight from the horse's mouth, if you wanted it, that it was more powerful to have people talking about his business in a positive way than it was to have exposure and to have a logo on the car. I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful cherry on top, as I keep saying. It's wonderful for the announcements and for the social media, but it doesn't convert in the same way that being a natural brand advocate will. So we've spoken about then what brands are actually looking for. We've also spoken about what you can provide at a club level as well. And I guess that actually brings us on to our sort of next question, our final question, if we've not got any more just now. Do brands care about business-to-business networking opportunities through motorsport, or is that overhyped? This boils down to, I guess, a core question, and that is business-to-business networking just fluff? It can be in certain situations. I think if you are the one that's providing these business-to-business networking opportunities, then obviously you've got an ability to not make that crap. You've got the ability to make that engaging and make that enjoyable and make that pressure-free as well. But again, the key word there is work, you putting in the work to make that an opportunity for these businesses, for these brands. And it all starts with networking outside of the opportunities that you present anyway. So this is specifically talking about, offering networking opportunities as part of your sponsorship package, as part of your branding deal anyway. But there is something that massively gets overlooked. And again, this is going back to our first question about what value you can provide. If we come back, if we sort of put a hold on the networking opportunities and come back to that specifically in a second, instead, if we talk about the power and the value of you being a local connector, as a racing driver, of you having your finger, as I said earlier, on the pulse of local business, having your finger in the pies and knowing exactly what's what, who's doing well, who's doing not so well, who you can trust, who needs a wee bit of help, all that sort of stuff. The more people that you know, the more people that you can refer other people to, even outside of you needing something. That provides a lot of value, and that provides you with a lot of leverage as well, because again, it's something else that you're known for outside of being a racing driver. And can I just say, if you turn up to your local business meeting and your title is that, yeah, I'm a I'm a racing driver. I'll guarantee, right, 90% chance that you are the coolest person in the room. You'll have a lot of people flocking to you for about 10 minutes and then realise that they're not going to be able to pitch anything to you. So there is always that. But there is a huge value in you being able to connect people to people, and you being able to go, oh, yeah, so I know actually Tom from XYZ Plumbing. He's, absolutely amazing. That, again, going back to the previous thing, that whole natural referral thing, even if it's not a brand that you're directly working with, think of everything as getting practice. Think of everything as, greasing up the wheels of business, and you being able to network and to speak to people as well. That was a big thing for me. So let you into a little secret here. I said earlier on that I'm a professional commentator. I work in esports and I work in, real life commentary occasionally as well. I am massively socially awkward and socially anxious at times as well. It doesn't happen all the time, but it does kick in, and especially around networking events as well. I have to sit myself down and talk to myself on just taking myself down from that precipice of how nervous I get when I go into these things as well. But you'd never know it from when I go in there, because I'm all sweetness and light, and I am the most charming person in the room. Big smiles, full of energy, full of happiness. But again, if that comes naturally to you, wonderful. If that doesn't come naturally to you, guess what? Nobody can tell. Fake it. Just put a smile on. Just go in there. Just, who cares? Act as if, like I said earlier, act as if you had balls of steel. You had the biggest confidence. You had just everything to tell everyone. And that whole thing about there being a thin line between confidence and arrogance, you know exactly where that line is. You know that when you start bragging about what you do, then that's where the arrogance comes in. When you dismiss other people for what they do, that's where the arrogance comes in. But when you're happy, when you're excited, when you're passionate about what you do, that's not arrogance. That's passion. That's a very, very clear distinction between the two. Because being arrogant means that you dismiss other people, means that you look down on other people, and you never look down on anyone. So, right, that was a total ramble there. But the key thing here is that no, business-to-business opportunities are not overhyped. This is a way that you can create value for brands that are interested, whether or not they are actually working with you or not. You can provide value easy. You can provide them with more referrals. You can provide them with people who might be interested in their services. But it's also something that you can create that is unique to your brand. So if you're just offering a monthly Zoom meeting with everyone, right? That's a thing. You could do that. You could connect all of your businesses, get them all together, have a virtual coffee with them, take, half an hour, 45 minutes, whatever, sit with them, tell them about how you're getting on, introduce them, give them, half an hour to speak with each other or whatever. But even better and more likely, if you're doing it at a club level, do it with your local businesses. Get them all together, get them over a lunchtime, buy them lunch or whatever if you feel fancy. Mickey D's is quite cheap. But the point being is that you can make it into something that is unique to you as a racing driver, something that is unique to you as a brand. You can take along a sim rig for you, give them a shot on that, set up a little hot lap challenge or something. Again, find ways to break the ice with them and make it different from all those boring networking events that are around and out about there. And then you might find businesses that weren't really interested in you wanting to get on board with it, and then suddenly, oh well, we're going to have to play nice with you. We're going to have to be friends with you as a racing driver just to get access to your audience. Because when we're talking about audience, it's not just your social media followers, but it's who you know as well. there's a couple of people that I know that are like that, and one of them is a good friend of mine, Mike Yao, who literally there is nobody that guy does not know. I mean, he has got his finger in so many different pies. He just oozes charm. He goes out and he chats to people. And for me, I look up massively to him, to how he networks and how he just, he does his business. Another example from SimStaff, Josh Martin. He's another one that just goes out, exudes confidence and chats to loads of different businesses and loads of different people. And again, makes those connections. Whether or not they're going to work with him or not is not the issue. It's about leaving a positive impact. It's about saying, hey, I'm this person. This is what I do. I'd love to help you in any way that I possibly can. There's more to it than just the sell. Leaving a positive impact has such a huge outcome for that as well. So brands do care about business to business networking opportunities, and through motorsport, it gives them something unique to bond with as well. Because 9 times out of 10, if they're going to be backing you, they usually have some sort of vested interest, whether that's they're a supplier to the automotive industry, or they are somehow some other way tied in to cars or to bikes or to whatever. That tends to be their core audience. So they are interested in meeting people. But the other key thing about networking events and why most of them suck is that networking events, by and large, you're getting people that are on transmit. And this is something that, again, that you could teach to your businesses. You could basically make this a rule that you're not on transmit all the time, that you're, again, building relationships just like you are as a racing driver. You teach this to the businesses and brands that you're getting on board with. How to make better connections, how to speak to people, how to go out there and actually have a conversation. Because most of the time, they'll go out and they'll do a pitch and then they've got no real interest in actually speaking to people. So again, that's something that you can provide, and again, boils down to you providing value. So there's tons and tons and tons of different things that business to business networking can provide in terms of opportunities. It can be overplayed, but if you play it right and you do it properly and you do it your way as a racing driver in the style of your brand, you can make something very, very special on that. Now, I do have one final clip from my interview with Stephen Turner. It's not really relevant to the networking part, but it actually precedes the clip that you just saw there. And again, it goes down to the value of you shouting and being passionate and being a cheerleader for the businesses that you work with. It's something that I had experience with. We were talking about how he backed racing driver Rory Butcher in the touring cars. And I used to work with Rory when I was in the office in Knockhill, and just a wonderful, wonderful human being. Very, very, friendly, helpful, just would do anything for anyone. And I think him and Stephen hit it off really, really well. Stephen provided him, from my understanding, with a lot of equipment. And Rory, despite being in the BTCC, absolutely did what he could to try and help Steve out.
One of the drivers we did sponsor, we sponsored a couple of touring car drivers, but one in particular was Rory Butcher. We helped him out with a helmet and some other racewear, and he was always sending us people. He was always recommending us to people. When there was a camera or a TV camera pointed at him, he was always trying to get our brand in front of it. I remember one particular scene when watching the touring cars. I think we were at Brands Hatch, and I think Louise was doing an interview with him in the car, and we had our logos on his gloves, and I remember him raising the glove to the camera so they could see the logo quite clearly and point it out, and had it in his helmet and stuff as well. So he was trying to get us, our brand, in front of the cameras, and that was important for us. Obviously, a high profile professional like that, it was really beneficial for us to kind of put that commitment into him. So and we got some people who were amateur racers, but they knew what that approach meant, and they delivered that for us as well. So that's, as I said, the people we would get behind and actually put a bit of money behind them to help in their journey, as long as they helped in our journey.
So again, straight from the horse's mouth here, and exactly that whole mentality of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It's something that we go over on massive depth over on the Modern Driver Playbook for driver sponsorship, and there's literally a whole section dedicated to building and maintaining relationships with brands, with sponsors, because it's one thing being able to get a sponsor on board, but actually keeping them on board, and not only that, keeping them coming back year after year, season after season, and having you as a long-term partner on that is, I mean, imagine not having to go through that grind, having that stability, having that security of knowing that you've got a partner, a sponsor that comes back year after year. Absolutely huge. As I said, go and check it out at the Camber website, cambermedia.co.uk/the playbook. But that is it for us for tonight. Somehow that's another 45 minutes just blown through, absolutely blitzed through. I really am enjoying doing these episodes, really enjoying doing this show. A huge thank you as well to everyone that's been reaching out to me on Instagram, saying, giving me feedback on the content that we're putting out, on the streams that we're doing as well. We're we're making no mistake with this. This is going to be a slow burn with the live stream. It's going to be very, very quiet for the first sort of 10 episodes or so. We'll get a little community. We'll get, 10, 20, 50 people in here. Enjoy it while it lasts, because as you kind of go on, you get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you don't get that same sort of close-knit community. So we'll try and keep it as close-knit as we possibly can for as long as we can. If you haven't already, go and check the free download that we've got available on the website. If you go to cambermedia.co.uk/links as well, it should be in the description. Check out our reasons that exposure is dead. 6 reasons that exposure is dead. It's a new sub-series that we're launching called Fuck Exposure. I said it. I probably should have bleeped that out, but hey-ho, sue me. We're done with it. We need to change as an industry. That seemed to be the bit that resonated with you all last week, the clip that I put up. And we can all do our part to make sure it changes as well. So it's going to be a busy week next week. I am very likely going to be down in England. I'll be in the middle of doing potentially some on-site commentary for the Student Racing League. The finals of that are there. I'm very, very excited to be doing that through SimStaff and with Williams Sim Racing. So we'll see that. I'll have to rush back to the hotel and get my PC set up. So it might not be as glitzy, it might not be as glamorous, but there will be, I'm sure, a show next week. And we'll get some more interviews as well. We'll get some recorded interviews and give you some more insight from the world of racing and straight from brands, businesses, marketing managers, everything else in between. But a huge thank you to everyone that's been watching tonight. Get the questions in on Instagram. Give us the love everywhere else. Share it with anybody that you think this would be useful to. And until then, we will see you next week. Take it easy and have fun.